Good morning. It's almost afternoon, but it's still the morning. Welcome to Talking Horses, day 7 here at Saratoga. Sarah Nobodwy, Andy Serling, as we bring you the Friday card. You know, the good news is that the rain was nowhere nearly as bad as they had said. I mean, the phone is not helping at all with those weather reports. I don't care if somebody's talking to me in my ear or not.
The voices in your head?
No, there's something wrong with the earpieces. Anyway, regardless, we didn't get the rain we predicted.
That's correct.
If somebody is trying to talk to me in my ear, you need to tell our cameraman because I cannot hear you. And anyway, we didn't get that rain. We are off the turf except at Lake George. We're keeping our fingers crossed. There's a lot of blue sky considering the kind of dire reports, so let's hope that we can at least get that in.
I know. I was asked for a weather report last night. My weather report was that it was not yet raining.
The phone had like 2 inches, but, you know, what does the phone know? I'm going to take this out. It's very distracting. Anyway, so I'm going to get my thoughts together, I promise.
Do you?
And I think at this point, you know, we can be optimistic for, I think, not just 2 turf, but maybe even more tomorrow because it wasn't nearly as bad and the weather reports look good. Well, enough for the weather. Anyway, she's Sarah, I'm Andy, and you are heading over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code SPA200 and we will match for $200 of your initial deposit. We have middle pick 4, 2,
Your
4, and
favorite.
7 with the pick 4s. Oh, yeah. If you don't know it by now, you'll never know it. What else do we have? We have a $7,500 hit and split. Trifecta, the last trifecta of the day here and Woodbine. Head over to Naira Bets for more information and opt in at Naira Bets to be involved with that. Not a bad idea. Race number, what else we got? We got contests, Saturday contest, $300 buy-in. You have till 5 o'clock, I think, today. Head over to naira.com/contest. We have those feeder contests we're starting on Fridays. I don't know that you can still sign up for them. It was probably yesterday, but you should check that out because that's actually a cool addition, an idea I like. I think a lot of people will like. What else? What else? The cooler giveaway. Have you gotten one?
No, I didn't get the bag from Father's Day either. I mean, there
I
might
got
be
one.
some reasons for that.
I got one. I gave it to Roy. This I would have to take home, but it's a very good giveaway. First of our 4 giveaways. And I believe we're up to the show. The Big Shoe. 1 to 6:30 on FS2. Race number 1, the first race off the turf on the card. You know, I were talking before about Shards coming out. I wonder if Kelsey Danner, knowing the weather report, decided just not to ship, knowing that and just wanted to run the horse in the turf, even though I think both you and I thought the horse was a major player on the dirt. We have both scratched into very cleverly picking Todd Pletcher's MTO. You must have reached deep into the trick bag to come up with this one.
I know. We're so sharp, aren't we?
No, I don't know. I mean, may or may not be. We're not going to be sharp if the horse wins. We're going to be dumb if the horse doesn't.
Yes,
So
of course.
we have no opportunity to be sharp in this race.
Of course. Well, I mean, some would say at all times, but Foxhole
Yes,
just makes a lot
many
of
would
sense
say.
in a spot like this, and especially if you were trying to take a shot with the other main track only entrant who will not be playing today, and Wesley Ward had great stats with that one.
That horse has entered Sunday in a dirt race. That's why
well, that would be
people
why.
were wondering
There we
why
go.
that horse came out.
Perfect. Well, I tried to take a shot against Pirate the other day. Didn't work out. That horse was very impressive on debut.
Was he?
I would say so.
No, I thought he was okay.
He was only okay.
I
He
mean,
didn't impress you enough.
He didn't impress me like a horse that was as highly as touted as him. I think he's a good horse, and he got a fast pace, but the rail was good, and he got a 77 buyer. Todd Pletcher has set the bar extremely high for his highly touted 2-year-olds, and it's not just Uncle Mo. So I'll wait and see with him, if that's
Okay.
fair.
That's fair enough. I don't know that this one is quite that good, or maybe perhaps is better. Who
I know
knows?
nothing. Literally.
nothing?
I know nothing. Is it the same connections as Pirate?
I don't.
Wasn't that Harrell Ventures?
I don't know.
I feel like it was.
Someone will text you with all.
They
the,
will,
with all
but
the
I feel like
trivia
it was. I feel like
information.
I thought that.
Anyway, this one has some pedigree. I mean, the dam's a half to On Fire Baby, high heels. There's some distance pedigree.
All
in the
household
future.
names.
Yeah. I remember On Fire Baby. I liked her quite a bit.
Oh, she was good. Yeah,
She was really
She
good.
won the
Pocahontas.
She won
Apple
the
Blossom.
Apple Blossom. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she was. I liked her too. She's a good
Yeah.
horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did not see her. She was in there. I didn't see her in the pedigree. This one's a half to that horse.
The dam is.
Oh, the dam is. I
Yes.
got you. Sorry. I wonder if it's a little interesting that Wesley Ward went ahead and entered the 10 in the dirt race on Sunday, knowing it was highly likely that this race would come off when they entered yesterday, and was thinking, you know what, I'd like to leave Saybold Fears on the dirt.
Yeah, Philly facing the boys. I mean, we know that his horses generally have speed early on, and sometimes when you are making that surface switch with a horse who we haven't seen at all yet, but if they're turf intended, it might also be a kickback issue. If this one just goes, it's also possible she could handle this surface even though she wasn't necessarily intended for it first time out.
The 4 every 4 years. Take a look at the replay of this horse running a bad third. So Rockstar Boy did not run well yesterday.
No.
Call the Cavalry did not run well. I've got the horse second. I'm guessing that's probably the reason you have this horse fourth.
That would be
Heavily touted.
correct.
This horse was really bad not to at least get second, right?
And such a short price, and we haven't seen the competition run back well. I know that Call the Cavalry was facing arguably tougher competition in the Sanford, but Rockstar Boy should have run a little bit better the other day.
She didn't run at all in the Schuylerville.
Right, it just really had nothing to offer. So
Sanford.
that's why I have this one a little bit further down. But this race gets a lot easier as nobody's really playing.
Right. I mean, it is still a first-time starter for good connections. Took a lot of money first time, and those horses can often run better. But I can't argue with you putting this horse lower because I think there's really a question mark about whether or not this horse is that good. Race number 2. Race number 2 is scheduled dirt race, and we'll take a look at Rosebug finishing second last time. I'm kind of sold on this horse. I had no problem with this horse losing last time. Hot Fudge was able to get completely loose in the lead and actually had some back races. It was coming off a dead rail trip. And I just think this horse was compromised trying to close inside of her. Thought her race before that was very good. And I've taken her on top as a likely shortish price in here.
Was this a day where you felt as though the rail was not the place to be at all, and that's why you ended up liking moving Moxie next time out? Was that specific day? Do you remember?
Well, is Moving Moxie on the rail?
She was.
Yes.
All right, then that must have been it. I just didn't love that Hot Fudge ended up going so extremely wide on the turn in there, and she wasn't able to kind of get to her at least a little bit
what
more.
mayor he wants me to run for. That guy just said I should be the mayor.
Really?
I'm just wondering what town.
Maybe your
Fantasyland?
pick. Your pick.
Candyland? Mayor of Candyland?
Saratoga?
Yeah, no.
The track
That's
only?
a thankless job, believe me. I've had friends involved with that.
I'd vote for you.
Anyway, you were saying with Hot Fudge, well, she drifted because you want to stay off the inside and she controlled the race. What do we care about what she did
I know
in
that
that
she
race?
was so far out, but she really went way out wide. And I think
Okay.
that I just wish that Rosebug did a little bit more catching up
But
to
she
her
was
in
near
the
the
later
inside.
stages.
She wasn't on the rail, but she was toward the inside. But if maybe she drifted out because they wanted to stay farther away from the rail as possible.
Yeah, maybe it was intentional. You could be right about that. I think Hot Fudge is pretty good. I know you do as well, at least to respect her enough, and then take Rosebug on top in here. I like that Rosebug's been a little bit more forwardly placed in some of her starts lately. She makes a lot of sense. I just took a shot with Top Gun Girl, who is one that I think will be forward early, if not in front. Oh,
Please, don't let me
maintenance.
distract
Yeah,
you.
That's exciting. Anyway, her only other dirt start
Should we bring
was
them on the
against.
set?
What's
Should we
that?
bring them on the set?
Sure. Just a
Go
pile
ahead,
of
I'm
dirt
sorry.
just ran over all of us. Top Gun Girl's only other dirt start was against a horse like Tarabi. This is not a quality field of that caliber. Tarabi was very good. If she runs back to that 80 buyer in her only other dirt start, I think that she's a player.
You know, it's odd because I was wondering
Why
last
don't
time.
you get out there and help them?
No, I'm not helping anybody. I could barely help myself. I don't love taking horses, and I got her second. I obviously don't disagree with you whatsoever in here with her. It's a 5 furlong race. You know, those were those 5 furlong races that were originally supposed to be turf races, and because they didn't run on the turf, they turned them into dirt races. The Fig does hold up to scrutiny, to be fair. I don't know if it's good enough to win here. But listen, she also improved dramatically on the turf last time, so maybe she's just an improved horse. And Wesley is such a... I have such trouble reading Wesley because he switches surfaces. Like, I've never been a trainer like him, right, that does this. And he does it successfully
He does it
sometimes.
well,
Yeah, no,
for the
I'm
most
not
part.
knocking him at all.
It's just that
I
they
think
all take a
Wesley's
lot
sort
of money for
impressive.
the most part.
So, Headland. You don't like Headland at all. We'll look at her Ellis last time out.
Yeah.
Why are you so badly against the streaking Linda Rice barn?
It's mostly because this horse, first off the claim, came back, and it just was a figure that we hadn't seen from her in a while. When she won with that 89 buyer, certainly
Seems a little bogus, doesn't it?
Linda's
Not that the
doing-
figure's wrong. It's,
I don't know that we're going to see an 89 again. I know that that's something that you question as well when we haven't seen something like that from horses
why I've got her
in the
third.
past performances. But of course, you do have to take into consideration how well Linda Rice is doing with these horses that she's claiming in Kentucky and bringing up here. So
or all the horses in general. not just the ones from Kentucky. I mean, look at that maiden yesterday in the first, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I know. It ultimately came down to just liking a couple more is better, couple more better than this one. But would I be completely shocked? No. I've started to learn my lesson about leaving these horses out.
It's hard. It's hard. You have to make decisions, and I'm more in line with you. You have her fourth, I have her third. You have the one Braganza higher than I do. She's sort of the one you put in there, and she is coming off of 2 impressive efforts, albeit against lesser cutting back in distance Freddie Keneally.
Yeah, I think that she's just another one that could be a little bit more forwardly placed. In a
People
spot
love
like
when I look at the
this.
tractor. I'm really just acting up.
They got a job to do, just like us.
I'm just kidding, dude.
I just think that she's in a great form right now. She can recover and get herself into contention. She had a stumble that was pretty legitimate in one of those starts, and I just thought she's been much the best lately, even though this will be a tougher field. I do agree with you on that.
I just think
she'll be in
Rosebud's a better
position.
horse, but
That's
we'll
fair.
see. I'm 3-5s in here for the most part. Not that I don't think the 1 and 6 can win. I just preferred others. So race number 3 was dramatically affected by scratches because there were basically 3 horses that were going to take money in here. The 3 Portos, the 7 Classic Mark, and Order of Magnitude, who we picked. Well, now one of them's left. I mean, Order of Magnitude is not exactly the most compelling of horses, and I would have shown the replay if I knew the other 2 weren't running. But, I mean,
What else?
what else are you going to tell us? His last dirt race will just smash this field.
Right.
The problem is, where did it come from? The other dirt races, this horse is not that good. This is originally a Klarovich horse.
I think now with the scratch of Classic Mark, don't you just want him to go? Don't you just want him to be the controlling speed of this race with Luis Saez aboard?
Yeah,
Carlos
well,
David.
there was no speed.
There was no speed to begin
no
with.
speed to begin with, and the
Now
speed was
there's even
Classic
less.
Mark. I agree.
Exactly. I think that
listen, I don't think that Trevor is going to be lackadaisical, and I don't think that Ricardo Santana is going to be lackadaisical outside of him. But Luis Saez is an aggressive rider. I mean,
I think
yeah.
that he could be naturally faster than those other 2 as well. If
it could be. It's not that big. But let me ask you another thing. If you're Luis, I agree with you fundamentally. But if you're Luis Saez, do you want to get into a battle with either one of those horses because you're riding, in theory, the far superior animal?
Right. I think that it'll be a very split-second decision right out of the gate. If anybody else is trying to get themselves into contention, he can take back a little bit. But if no one else is going for it, I think that he has the horse to go
Of
do
course, but I think it's a potential problem because there's speed potentially inside of him and a speed potentially right
you don't
outside
wanna
of him.
be in that
So
three-way battle.
he's
Right.
I agree, and they're all split-second decisions. And listen, a lot of winning and losing comes down to making the right choice in a split second. Think about Irad Ortiz on Creator in the Belmont Stakes a number of years ago, making an incredibly great split-second decision that ended up winning the race for him as they came to the stretch and all these things. Think of Gary Stevens on Victory Gallop in the Belmont. And I think he made about 7 split-seconds decisions that were correct in there. To me, that's the greatest big race ride in the history of racing, at least in my life in racing. Yeah. But I mean, like Empire Ride. Okay, he won last time. He was last time of the time, and that was a pretty soft field.
He would need to improve a little bit going in here.
I'd like to see Jason Barkley come here. I'm thrilled that he has horses here, and I like to see him do well in here. His numbers off the claim are not great. But the thing is, if Order of Magnitude doesn't run well,
Anybody could win.
yeah, I mean, he runs that last dirt race. But the other thing is, if he runs a lot of his other dirt races, he's not really any better than anybody. So I guess
Right.
the question becomes what you make of that dirt race 2 races back.
And now you will have to take a short price with the other 2 major players scratching out of that race. So I think that's a fair question to ask yourself when looking at this race. Will we see an 80-type buyer again from him?
No.
Do we have to?
Right, we see a 70 buyer. He's probably going to win this race.
Right.
See what happens in race number 3. Race number 4 is the Curlin. I love the fact that Curlin, of course, stands at Hillendale, and he's the sire of Good Magic, who also stands there. And there are 3 Good Magics in here. It's sort of amazing how many of these 3-year-olds are Good Magics.
And how many of them are running at the top level
Yeah,
as well?
no, yeah, of course. Yeah,
incredible.
I mean, amazing. So Blazing Sevens, he's the horse to beat, and I mean, it's kind of foolish of me to say. I question whether or not he's going to be ultimately in his career a better horse going 1-turn miles than the 1 1/8 to 1 1/4 races, and I don't think it's a question that Chad Brown would disagree with. But these are the races you want to win and the ones you got to run in, and sometimes the distance question isn't as important as maybe we make it out to be. He was unlucky to lose this race. He should have won. If he wasn't flowed a bit in the first turn, he probably would have won this race. I'm still not just his biggest fan.
Who is he? Is he that Preakness? Is he some of his previous races that have
I thought
been
his
a little
Bluegrass
bit
was mediocre.
lackluster? Tapit, Trice, and Verifying didn't run well in the Derby. Of course, they've come back and run a little bit better since then, but
Yeah, he's a good horse, Verifying.
he is.
I wonder if he's more of a Alan Jerkins type horse, though, than he is a true router.
I just have the same approach to Blazing Sevens as you do, where I don't know exactly how good he is. And with that in mind, with the favoritism that is going to be in place today, it's the time to take a shot against.
Okay, do you know where he gets his name from?
No, tell me.
Big movie buff that you are. Well, obviously Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Oh,
Marion
I
Raven.
was talking about Blazing Sevens.
No, I meant Lost Ark.
Oh, yes, I do know the
Oh, you do?
Indiana Jones reference.
Okay, but you know why it's named that?
No, tell me.
Marion Ravenwood the Dam. Isn't that the Karen Allen character in the Raiders of the Lost Ark movies?
Yeah.
I believe.
You know that his two half siblings that are more well known, Nest and Idol, are both Curlins, yet he is not.
I did not know that.
It's kind of funny.
Nest will be running here on Sunday. I
Yeah.
knew that.
It's a good
Go
start.
ahead with your Lost Ark spiel.
I just like that he was able to win fresh off the layoff, making his 3-year-old debut. I thought he was a little bit unlucky in that Breeders' Futurity where he was very wide and kind of caught in traffic. The race that Forte ultimately did end up winning, pulled up in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Wasn't seen since. I just like that he came back with a pretty strong performance. And while he doesn't necessarily have a ton of speed early, he was able to win first time out going 5.5 furlongs. So it's in there somewhere for him to be up a little bit closer. Now he's second off the bench. I think that he has some talent and ways to move forward. Whereas I think I've seen a lot of who Blazing Sevens is. I haven't seen a lot of who Lost Ark might be.
Okay. I've got him third. I mean, I think he's one of the options, the more realistic options if you want to bet against Blazing Sevens. I just prefer Scotland. We'll take a look at his race. I'd love to see Junior be aggressive with him. I think Miracolo will be forward as well in here. I don't think anybody's going to be that far behind. I'm not sure how much of a role the pace will play. They do speed up. I swear it happens. He got a perfect trip in here. I'm not going to deny it. This was a race that completely and totally fell apart with a fast pace. But watching races at Churchill out of the chute is a painful experience because you have no idea what's really going on at the break. And
Right.
and listen, it's not great here with our mile chute. That's my biggest problem in the mile chute race here. I would love to get a camera that somehow shows you the breaks. You actually know who's braking slowly because you can't really tell. I do believe there's a very good chance he broke about a length slow in that race, which was one of the reasons he was farther back. And maybe it helped him, maybe it didn't. But I thought he ran well. I thought he was improving for Bill Mott. Maybe he's the one to take a step forward. We're both trying to get horses to take step forwards. I thought he had shown more talent than Lost Ark has, but I'm not going to argue if you're trying to beat him. Listen, Perform had improved in that Federico Tessio. He was awful in the Preakness, but I wouldn't be shocked if he ran okay.
David likes Yom Miracolo.
Yeah, I know.
the
He's
one to
hoping
pick.
for a Miracolo.
Did you rehearse that one beforehand?
No, I already used it with him. But hey, I respect David's opinion. I
Yeah.
just don't
Neil
agree with
picked
this
White
horse.
Beam.
But
We were both wrong about her. So
That's
yeah,
right.
fair enough.
That's the way the game goes. Race number 5. Before we take a break, we are off the turf in race number 5. What are you doing in this mishmash?
I went to a horse that's only in for the tag for the second time and one that has shown some speed in the past with the number 2 Woodside Warrior, also a first-time gelding. I just feel as though he's one that's going to have to go from the inside, of course, and I didn't think his race last time out was really that bad, and he was just facing so much tougher in those maiden special weight races. We saw horses like Ciccio Bello, Battle of Lexington come back and run well. We saw, Golden Arm be pretty good so far. So I just think that this is a class level that makes some sense for him, and there's a little bit more upside to him than some horses that we've just seen a lot of. Plus, he'll be forward.
Okay, I bet him last time. I thought he was atrocious, but okay. Listen, I'm not going to knock horses in this race. I mean, this race is sort of ridiculous. I'm taking Sinaloa. I liked Sinaloa in this race on the turf. I thought he showed a lot in that race and felt like a horse that would run much better for Linda Rice second time, as her horses often do. I thought the fact that she leaves him in is a good sign. He's got enough dirt pedigree to handle it. And this is a horse that I thought did some real running and would be a much more professional horse in all likelihood second time out for Linda Rice. My goofy horse was the 10. It's not my fault. Who actually has a better dirt pedigree and being a Destin. At least this horse was a bit forward first time out. This is just a total stab for me. The 13, we both have the 13 and 15 in there. The 15's an obvious. Talk about Sin Nombre.
I mean, the stats aren't exactly jumping off the page, and neither is the pedigree, but wouldn't this be a good spot for a fresh face? Because I just feel as though we've seen a lot of not much from everybody else. And
That would be a good point.
I'd love to take a relative unknown that will be at least a little bit of a price, but there's no clever argument for this horse for me. I just thought that there isn't.
It's a first-time starter in a race
much
where you
else
don't
to
like the
go.
horses that have run. Who would argue with that?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Tiebreaker is going
We've
to take
just
a lot of
seen
money with
so
Irad.
much of Tiebreaker, haven't we?
I've seen more than you, and yes, I have. I agree. And he's got Irad, but the thing is, he's Jose's second choice in here. That's why Irad gets him. It means Jose Rattle, Lied Linda, even dirt or turf. See what happens race 5? The late pick 5 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Hi, we're back. Andy, Sarah, John, off the turf. Mile and a quarter, for those asking. You know, I couldn't find it out without asking somebody in the racing office. Somebody asked me on Twitter this morning. I did not know what distance this was going to be.
At least you shared the scratches finally, though.
I shared that when I got it. So we're off the turf here. Those are not my picks, guys. My picks are 8, 13, 3, 1A. I sent you turf and dirt picks. So the 8. Why don't we get that fixed and show a replay of the number 8? Oh, Captain, my captain. In here, a horse that you and I are both picking.
I mean, this is just the supremely obvious dirt horse in this spot who no great
there.
shakes here or clever thoughts behind this one who ran at Ellis last time out on a surface with considerable moisture in it. And, I mean, this is one that has run some big races in the past, too. We know that Ellis Park, we've talked about it a couple times through various shows, has been more of a speed-favoring surface. He ran well as the favorite in here, not able to get to a horse like Fowler Blue, but this just makes a lot of sense for him. Now we're a mile and a quarter, as you mentioned, on the dirt, and you'd have to think that the weather report was looked at for Gustavo Delgado before putting him in here. Just makes a ton of sense.
You may want to try him in a distance on the turf with no concerns if the race came off. And, you know, he lost a Giant Game 2 back, who came back to win the Cornhusker. Princess Spur, those horses are pretty good. He can handle a distance. He's too obvious.
Right.
But it's, you know, I think, I don't know about you, but I really wanted him. We've got a second, too, so you probably had the same idea. I kind of want to make Linda Rice with Costa Terra, but that horse is just going to have to improve. I know they were ambitious in some early races, but Linda's going to really have to move this horse up or hope that O'Captain doesn't show up.
Right, and I think the main thing against O'Captain is just that he doesn't have a ton of early speed.
In here, he'll probably have
But
speed.
when you look at the rest of this field, I think that he can be a little bit more forwardly placed like you do. Of course, you want to make a case for the only main track, only entrant, but I don't know. I was left a little cold by him last time out. Victory Way, of course, a decent horse, but
Oh, he was over his head
he
in that
he was,
spot, though.
yeah.
He was
This will be
20
an
to
easy
1
spot.
that day. I don't think he underperformed. I think he ran his figure. The problem is his figure's not likely to be able to beat O'Captain if he runs his race. It's interesting that Mike Dubb and Mike Maker are leaving Catch That Party in. Because, A, we don't know that he necessarily wants to go this far, and it's hard to have much confidence on the dirt because he really hasn't run well on the dirt. I mean, truthfully, I got to look up his dirt races because I just assumed that he would be scratched if it came off. Did you look up his dirt races?
No, I didn't, but I remember the race that we talked about that he ran last time where he was able to end up ultimately being the best horse in the race as he didn't break, had to kind of rush up into contention and then barely caught the winner
but
in
that's a
there,
turf
but that's
race.
a turf race. So it kind of reminds me of a horse like
Oh, this one?
like at Hop Brown that won on the dirt last year but that was a better horse.
No. Something like a Hot Brown had run very well in the Bluegrass, I want to say, or some race like that. Something like a Hot Brown had good dirt races. So this is a dirt race showing. It was virtually ease, 6 furlongs or not. No, something like a Hot Brown actually had legitimate dirt form. We talked about it quite a bit that day, so I would disagree. I don't know. Maybe he comes out later. Maybe they're taking a shot. It's a big purse and not going to come back. But, I mean, he's an advantage for betting if he's in the race, right? Because people are going to bet on him.
They love to bet the turf for him.
And if he wins, you're just sort of supposed to lose. We both have the 3 and 1A in there. And I guess C falls for Norm Cassie. A little interesting. His last dirt race, atrocious. His last 2, actually, atrocious. Before that, he's got plenty of form.
I guess you would want to just he would be kind of the speed. And here we know Ricardo Santana Jr. can be aggressive, and perhaps that's his key to winning this race. But I didn't have a ton to recommend like you did. His last couple of dirt races didn't enthuse me. And for Baby Billy as well, I wasn't exactly enthusiastic about his more recent dirt efforts, but there just aren't a lot of places to go.
He was good when he first ran in the dirt, so somewhere in there he can handle it.
But that was sprinting, though, so...
With C Falls, at least when he collapsed on the lead 4 races back, he was a huge price that day. So maybe he'll just find the going a lot easier. And what is the track listed as? Muddy right now, but I'm assuming it's muddy in Harrod.
Are we supposed to get more rain later?
It's Saratoga. We're always supposed to get more rain later. Actually, we were supposed to get a ton of rain
already.
In the last. When does it stop raining? Around 7 o'clock this morning, I think. I think by then it stopped. We were supposed to get rain all the way through, so far we've keep our fingers crossed. We've been very fortunate with what could have been a much worse day, but you never know, can change.
Yeah.
Race number 7, we'll just hope for the best, because that Lake George we'll talk about is a good race. Let's talk about the 7th race. I want to start with the replay. You've got Big Night Out on top in there. To me, the horse you want out of that race is Treaty Obligation, who was bumped by Big Night Out and sort of steadied out at the start. And I thought sort of had traffic trouble in the stretch and ran well, but I guess Big Night Out's a second-time star. You feel he can improve?
I've seen a lot of Treaty Obligation already, and that was the main point for me to take Big Night Out over him, because Big Night Out was racing very uncomfortably throughout this entire race. He was really stuck in behind horses, nowhere to go, and then ultimately when he does switch to the outside, he just kind of flattens out in the later stages of this race. He just did not look happy behind horses in this spot, and maybe that was the instruction, give him a good education, and he was actually the second choice in this race. I would have loved to see more in the later stages, but I think he can improve second time out, whereas Treaty Obligation, this was not his second start. He's had a couple of chances. He's been short prices. I know the blinkers do go on now, and he's run well in all of his starts so far, but I'm getting a little bit tired of him.
That's fine. I disagree with what your feelings about the 2 Big Night Out. He's a second-time star. He could improve. I don't agree. I think he got out in the stretch in a race that was just falling apart in the late stages, and he was the one doing the least running. But we can agree to disagree. Abaddon. Is Abaddon the horse to beat in here? A horse that
Based
ran
on
a
his
huge
first race.
figures out first time out, and I think we're going to take a look at that race at Belmont. And he was a firster, take a ton of money against Subrogate, who I think is that expensive horse for Jorge Duarte, who they had bet and run second first time out and ran 4th in the Pegasus in the subsequent start. But last time out, I mean,
I was left a little disappointed last time like you. I will say he was a part of kind of a speed battle where he was the one in between horses, but I didn't love that there was no serious distance on them towards the later stages of that race, even though they got swooped by 2 closers in there. But this race, this was a good battle all the way to the wire. It was a very game effort first time out. Subrogate is pretty decent from what we've seen so far.
He's a very, very likely winner if he runs back this race. He was off the rail last time. The rail was dead at Monmouth. The Horsey Duel was on the rail. He barely got by him late, but he was also towards the inside. Yeah, I mean, I think he's the horse to beat in this race because of that first race. And, you know, he didn't run so badly at Monmouth, even though he lost at 2-5. So you've got him a lot lower, though, than I do. I don't feel that way. I feel like he's a better horse than horses coming out of that race. I like Create Trouble in here.
Named after you?
No, Mr. Annoying was named after me. I like this horse's last race. I thought he ran extremely well last time. You look at some of the horses in that race, I think there's an argument it's a stronger race than the figure suggests. This was actually not a day that was a speed track at Ellis Park. If you look at it, this race completely and totally incinerated, and he was able to hold on after setting a fast pace, and this was not a day where speed was any kind of advantage whatsoever. Looking at the results, it was his first start off a layoff. He comes here, he draws well on the outside. I really like Create Trouble today.
All right.
But I'm worried about the 5 because his first race might be just better than these horses.
This is a fun race, though. There's some big pedigrees in
No,
here.
this is a terrific race. Anybody else you want to talk about?
No, I like the 10 a little bit. Silo Ridge might need one, but if there's a very interesting pedigree with this horse, I mean, for Bill Mott, who's had a lot of success here so far,
Why don't you talk about the pedigree?
I mean,
What you find so interesting about it?
let me find it here. I just don't know.
It's a second dam.
Yes, she's the sister to Shackelford,
Lady
Preakness
Joni?
winner. What's that? Lady Joanne?
Lady Joni. It's actually
Joni.
pronounced Lady
Joni,
Joni.
my mistake. A
You're,
fleeting
no, you're
lady.
young, so you know it's spelled Lady Joanne.
I'm sorry.
and it's
I looked up
pronounced
what
Lady Jo-
races she
No, no,
did well in,
I'm-
but I didn't go back
I'm
and watch
trying to
them.
let you off the hook, Sarah. You
I
don't have to be
appreciate
defensive.
you.
It's Lady Joni, even though it's spelled Joanne. I understand why you don't know it. She's actually the last horse my father bet before he died.
Oh, that's really sweet.
That's correct.
I wish
She
that
won
the
the
dam
Alabama.
was a little bit more productive herself. The siblings haven't been
agree.
much, but perhaps somewhere in there, this one can live up to
Yeah,
some of those
Oatsy
other.
is the second dam. I'm sure some people remember her. But I agree. I wish there was more production from that. And Bill Mott always feels like better with the Phillies and the Colts. And Lee, I'm excited for Lee. He's telling everybody how much he loves him right now somewhere. Race number 8. Race number 8 is a good race. I was glad this race stayed intact at a mile and an eighth. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of blue sky there now. That can obviously change quickly here. But if we can hold the rain off, I think the track will be good or to fast by the time this race is run because it's a good sign that it's muddy. And I'm assuming Harrowed because it's not listed as sealed. Let's talk about Arturius, who's going to be, I'm guessing he's the morning line favorite here. So this is his win in the Curlin. What do you make of him? What do you do with him?
If we see this race again, he probably wins. Where is this race going forwards? He's very difficult for me to trust, just like Bright Future, and they're both going to be shorter prices in here. I know that that was his first start off a layoff last time in the Salvador Mile, but I was just not in love with the kind of performance he came back with. And while this kind of effort, where he was really distancing himself and ended up kind of seeming like a legitimate player going into the Travers.
Relatively speaking, he didn't even run that badly in the Travers. The problem is his last race. I don't think it was a bad race. By him, and he did get into a prolonged duel. He wasn't on the rail. The rail was probably not the place to be, and he was in the two path, so I give him a little bit of an excuse. And it's not like he ran that badly with the 91 buyer first time out. I don't just feel like he's going to be bet based on reputation and the connections, and I just wasn't really sure. And I also thought they'd be moving a little bit in this race, though that would probably work in his favor. A lot of it really depends on Major Blue on the outside, but doesn't Gaffalione have to send this horse from the outside?
And won't he be bothering Speed Bias, a horse that we saw face much tougher company last time out in the Stephen Foster, but ultimately collapse in the later stages of that race after taking some pressure? I think the two of them do have to hook up early in order for Major Blue to have any chance of doing anything.
Well, Major
here.
Blue can only be a factor in this race. He's a 50-1 shot, and then he's on paper he's a 100-1 shot. It's not going to be easy. We'll show Speed Bias in the 2 races back to Pim Special, where he lost by a nose to Rattle and Roll. He obviously was disappointing last time in a much tougher spot. The Rattle and Roll finished well ahead of him. But he was also last time he was going to have to deal with West Willpower,
Stiletto
who's on his
Boy.
flank. But he's also on his flank. Yeah, I mean, it's like I can give him an excuse the last time. He has such a gigantic post position advantage over Major Blue. So Major Blue is going to have to really be in an all-out send to become a problem for this horse because overcoming an 8 post position difference at a mile and an eighth here is a very hard thing to do. And Speed Bias, I think the question with Speed Bias is how confident you are he's going to bring that out-of-town form here. I'm hopeful he can. You obviously don't feel he is. You don't feel strongly about it at all.
No, I was really disappointed by what we saw from him last time, and I know that this is, on paper, a huge drop in class from a Grade 1 race, but there's still some interesting horses in a spot like this, and I just thought he was going to take that kind of pressure early. Maybe if it's not from Major Blue, I don't think anybody else is really going to let him be completely loose on the lead in here.
But if Major Blue goes on a total send, he can raid. I mean, look at his race back at Oakland on March 16th. He did sit second in there, and he actually ran well. I'm not saying he won, but he still ran a pretty strong race in there. So if in fact, Tyler's able to get over and he goes to ascend, and we know that Wayne likes to be aggressive, I think he could sit. Obviously, if you like him, you'd prefer him to be controlling.
Right, but you're right. He can raid.
Yeah, it's just, but
He's
it also,
capable.
once again, depends on how quick the pace gets. So we'll see. The Reds, we both picked them on top. You talk about them.
I mean, this is a horse that's moving to the Chad Brown barn. We both had some interest in a horse like G Munning the other day who made a similar type of
I
move.
think he ran a winning race.
He ran very well to finish third in there. He's just been consistently in against very tough company, either stakes races themselves are stakes caliber type of fields. And if he can get back to that form that he had last year at Saratoga, those 90 buyer type races, second to Stage Raider when he was the good Stage Raider with that giant performance.
That very brief career
one-
where he
the
would
one
justify
shining
was
star.
proud to tell his friends about
Yeah.
his
And then he was
half-brother
like, "Who? I
Stage
don't
Raider.
have a brother."
Yeah.
But that was when he was good. So to finish second to him then, and then to come back and win, if we see that again, I think that he's going to be a square enough price on that if versus some others in here.
No, I listen. I mean, I agree with you whole. This is one where he picked the same horse for the same reason. I completely agree. Obviously, the concern with him is his recent form kind of sucks, and it's not like Chad Brown's going to wave a magic wand at him and he's going to turn back. And the question is how you feel. And I think you and I both think if he's in the 8-1 range, we can lose a few dollars hoping he can find that form again.
Absolutely.
And there should at least be an honest enough pace. You are more optimistic about Curbstone than I am.
I think that he's one that's just been doing these kind of marathon type races and even going a little bit further than this lately. This is obviously a tougher field than
I
we've
just
seen
thought it
from
was a
him.
tougher field.
But he has the consistency to go in here. Manny Franco's done well with him lately. And when you have kind of questions like I do about some of the shorter prices, about who they are, he's more reliable. Maybe it's not good enough, but I know who he is.
That's fair. No, that's very. Listen, he's in better form than our horses. And you mentioned Bright Future. I was very surprised that Todd entered this horse at a mile and 9.8. Now, it's very possible that he can't find a race for him at 7 furlongs because he's a pretty smart guy. And you look at this horse, and there's nothing about him, at least to me, that shows he wants more distance because I just thought he didn't finish that race at Churchill 2 back at all. And obviously they took a shot, and they wanted to have a horse in the big race to Brooklyn, and that's just the way it worked out. But I just wonder if he wants more distance. You obviously not a fan either. He's got fast figures, though. Not like he's not fast enough to win.
Right. I think you're kind of hoping that we could go back to some of that early form that he showed, and we just haven't seen as much lately. And I think that you make a good point about maybe they're not finding the right kind of placement for a horse.
I just
like
think they're not
this.
finding the races. I can't believe that Todd wouldn't want to run a 7 furlong race if he found it.
But is he his first couple of races, or is he kind of falling off a little bit? I don't know. And he's going to be short.
Yeah. He did run his 2 biggest races at Gulfstream, too, for what it's worth. Not that his Churchill race is bad. It just didn't give me, at least, any confidence as a handicapper that he wants an extra distance in here.
Right.
Race number 9, the Lake George. We are excited that it's still on the turf. Queen Picasso apparently running in Canada. Okay, I thought she was actually a contender in here. But we will start the conversation with Liguria and tax implications coming out of the Wild Applause. I don't know how you look at this race from a trip standpoint and don't want tax implications. Liguria got an incredibly good ride by Irad Ortiz, saved ground the whole way, angled out in a race that was collapsing and made the last move. Manny made an earlier and wider move, losing more ground, and Liguria had a race under her belt and tax implications didn't. I like tax implications performance, and I put her on top.
Yeah, she makes a lot of sense that she was one that was a little bit green as a 2-year-old. We saw her come back as a 3-year-old, and at least that seems to have been corrected as she's matured. Now she's second off the layoff, and look, she makes a ton of sense. I have nothing seriously against her. I do like Liguria a little bit better than her just based on thinking that she could improve off of that performance. And another thing that I liked about her last time, she broke so sharply. It almost looked like she rushed the gate a little bit, even though that's not what happened. But I like that she was taken back steadily and just very pliable.
But you don't have either of these horses your top 4?
No, these are
Nor
the
the
raw
5?
picks for this race. We'll start with that. These are my dirt picks for this race.
What are your picks for this race?
9, 4, 3, 2 are the correct picks for me for this race.
That makes a lot more sense. I was looking
Do you
at them
feel a
and
little bit
thinking,
better?
I was wondering how I was going to possibly control myself if you were picking Little Miss Moonlight on
No,
top.
those were for dirt. It's 9, 4, 3.
She did look
2.
okay on the dirt.
Yeah, she did make a little more sense on that surface, but
I would pick Surge Capacity on the dirt. Okay, so tell us
Grafton,
about
go
Princess
reset.
Bettina.
I really liked her 2 back when she was able to win the China Doll at Santa Anita, and I know that she needs to get back to that race and perhaps improve off of it just a little bit to be competitive here. The soft ground that she might end up facing today, a little bit more of a question, but that was over good turf at Santa Anita, which we don't see out in California that often. And she was off a troubled trip in the start before that where she was just very uncomfortable throughout, then got a much better setup in there. A little disappointing last time out, but she was off a little bit of a freshening and now perhaps second off a layup. I think that she can be tactical. This is her second start for Todd Pletcher, and I'm going to get a fair enough price with her towards the outside because Chad Brown has a pretty strong hold of this race, and it makes a lot of sense with many of his starters in here. I was just looking for a little bit of an alternative that I could make a case for two back.
Do you know where the race, the China Doll, gets its name?
Tell me.
Ask Mitch Levitas.
My favorite Mitch? You know.
Mitch's favorite Grateful Dead song.
Oh, okay.
Just as coincidentally, it's about somebody committing suicide, but that's true.
Neither here nor there. Poor Wallstib yesterday, really quick, while we're talking about the Grateful Dead.
I know. Yeah, your game of Silk Source.
My new best friend.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We'll see him another day.
Yeah, no, it seemed like
It
he
seems like he's
escaped
okay.
anything lousy happened, so
I
hopefully
know.
he's okay and he comes
Yeah.
back. It's a first-time star that Sarah had in the Game of Silks game, and for Ken McPeak Wallstead, what a long, strange trip it's been, an acronym for Grateful Dead, so for trucking. Yeah, he was a heavily bet first-time starter and had a little incident at the gate, but actually
He seemed
to
okay.
come out of it
Yeah.
pretty unscathed, which was fortunate. We look forward to seeing him run again. I agree. Okay, I didn't see it, but listen, horses win all the time that I don't see. Let's talk about Revelita a little bit. I actually thought she ran okay last time. My one problem with the 5 Revelita is that she did spend an awful lot of time on the rail in that race. But it was a forward race. Prerequisite ran fine in the Belmont Oaks. And I thought that might have been a pretty good race she's coming out of. I thought she was dangerous. You
I've
obviously
liked
did not
her
like her.
every single U.S. start so far and bet her pretty heavily in all of them, and she's just not getting the job done. I'm a little cold now on her ability to actually win at a level like this, but she keeps picking up the pieces, and you do have to respect the talent and ability that she does have. I just want to see her win one now before I take her again.
Okay. I think Surge Capacity is very, very dangerous. I know this is just a debut win, and this is a big move up against horses that have a lot more experience in tougher spots, but she was extremely impressive in this race. High Stick, who finished third, came back. She improved her Beyer figure 6 points. Now, to be fair, she did it kind of crawling on the front end at Belmont Park, but she still did run a better race. I think there's a chance it's actually a pretty good race. I think the 5th horse improved 6 Beyer points. So I think there's reason to think she's coming out of a strong race. It's funny, she's a half to Highly Motivated. She's a flincher, obviously, and Strong Incentive is a horse that the connections actually ran. Broke her maiden. Strong Incentive broke her maiden, a maiden 75 up here. Considering the kind of broodmare she's been so far, a lot of people missed out in claiming her for
I guess
75.
so.
She won a race in synthetic right after it up in Canada, and then she had an issue and she never ran again. I think she could be okay.
She could be good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have her 4th. I have a little bit further down, but I saw a lot of the potential that you did, and I think there's nothing to scoff at when you run an 80 by your first time out.
All right. We done?
I think so.
All right.
But there's one race left.
I know. We're done with this race. So the fun thing in the last race, we can all play this game. And I can make fun of Bourbon Chase because Kirk Wyckoff, Street Diamonds Farms, he's my friend. And his feelings won't get hurt if I make fun of his horse. In fact, he enjoys it. By the way, this horse is way the horse to beat in here. I mean, it's not even close. Having said that, I mean, I don't know. We'll dig in the archive somewhere and find a 3rd place finish on January 6th. This horse is such a preposterous money burner. My God.
This is a horse that I feel as though we've talked about so many times, and by we, I mean all of us on set, because he was so highly touted so many times in a row and just keeps disappointing and disappointing and disappointing, and he's going to be a short price again today.
But isn't this far, 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 far and away the easiest field he's ever met?
And
I
he'll
mean-
finish second again.
Listen, I picked him second. I'm not running the window.
did too,
He's like a punching bag horse, right? And listen, he
Team
should
in the
never have
exacta.
been 3 to 5 last time. That
No,
was
I mean,
ridiculous.
He's being preposterously overbet in
Right,
general. He should
particularly
not
last
be
time.
this short of a price each time that he goes out, even if he should be the favorite. The amount of money that comes in on him, but aren't you so tired of him? He'll win
No,
today,
I love
but
him.
aren't you so-
I love him. I pick against him, bet against him every time, and occasionally I've won. And I can tease Kirk about him, so it's like a
It's a
like a
double win.
win-win for me. Are
There
you
you
kidding
go.
me? There are 2 Linda Rice horses. I've bookended them around the one. You've got the other one, Lieutenant Mitchell, on top.
I mean, if he runs back to anything resembling his maiden race where he was 3rd to Arctic Arrogance, who turned into a pretty good horse, then he could be okay, but he'll have to handle a little bit more ground than that. I just like that he's a little bit more lightly raced than the horses that are going to be the shorter prices, and he does get that advantageous outside draw in here.
First time in the dirt for Linda Rice as well. Now, in fairness, he got absolutely smothered by Bourbon Chase when he bet him in his second start. Now, maybe something went wrong that day because he didn't come back for 7 months after there. And I agree with you, his first race is, arguably, he is the likeliest upsetter if you just want to go by his first rate upsetter, likeliest other winner. As far as
Upsetter to
Tomorrow, I have no confidence that this horse can run. But I'll tell you something. This is a very dirt family. Now, Cairo Prince has been more effective as a turf sire, but this is a dirt family, and I'm just a sucker for Linda Rice second-time starters, especially one. This one has to be a bit of a price. I have to think they're going to they're going to have.
They're
the
going
other
to
problem,
hammer Bourbon Chase.
Well,
They'll look to Lieutenant Mitchell. You'll at least get the third.
but isn't
not
the
more.
other problem with Lieutenant Mitchell, and I obviously think he can win, he's going to get bet off of turf figs.
You're right.
So
you're right.
isn't he
He
just
won't
going
be
to have
as
the
good of a
second
price
choice?
as he should be.
Right. That's I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. Maybe he is going to be a fair price because I don't. Where else are you supposed to go in here?
If it's not one of those three, I don't know.
Tony O's one dirt race. You have him third, but his one dirt race is atrocious. I mean, I certainly couldn't find anywhere else to go.
Even Julian might have been a little bit interesting in here, but he's not playing in here, so
Which one?
the 14.
He would have been interesting in here. Yeah, I agree. He has been a ridiculous money burner. Mission Hill, is he a little interesting in 3? I have him 4th. David liked this one more than I did. I actually liked the other Bill Mott horse, Prix de West.
I like that one on both surfaces. as
Yeah, I
well,
did
yeah.
too. I actually picked him. I picked him, I think, on top on both surfaces. So he had no shot. So they probably saw that and they probably left town.
Yeah.
I thought this horse was a little bit interesting. A street boss going in and staying here. Has to get a mile, but still.
I mean,
All right.
if you're taking a horse that hasn't had a lot of chances to disappoint you yet, certainly a spot like this.
Mean like somebody who shall remain nameless in here? Like Bourbon Chase? He is pretty amazing, right? He's lost 3 races at odds on.
How much would you have bet that he would have lost all of these races at this short of a price?
By his 3rd start? Well, I wouldn't have bet he'd be that price.
Right.
I wouldn't think they'd keep jumping in for
I
him.
know.
But I
They
bet he would
love
have kept
him.
losing. Yeah, it's funny. And I've joked around about this horse with Kirk quite a bit, actually, at different times. And there have been a couple times he told me, I was really going to run better today. And I usually wait 5 minutes before I make fun of him. Anyhow, that's the card. Thanks, Sarah. Sarah will be back tomorrow. She'll be here Fridays and Saturdays, except, Jockey Club Gold Cup Day. You know why?
Tell me.
The legend, Andy Beyer.
Oh,
Jockey Club
okay.
Gold Cup Day.
Well, I also let David Aragona know that he is welcome to one of my days.
Well,
if
that
he'd
you
like
got to
to
discuss
come
it
on.
with Eric.
Yes, well.
So that's up to you. You talk to Eric about it. But I'm always happy to see David as well. He's going to be here next week.
I would be happy to watch both of you and be an audience member for a moment.
Well,
so
speak to Eric and make it happen.
I will.
More than happy. Always David's biggest fan. Yeah, but Andy Beyer will be cut. He's probably going to go 0 for the card because
Well, didn't
he
he
picked
go
like 8 or 9
7?
winners or
I think
something?
he was 7 or 8
Yeah,
last
he had
year.
the-
I remember he liked instant coffee.
Yeah, paid a big price.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
he had a legendary Talking Horses appearance. He is a legendary man. There's another legend on the set right now, as a matter of fact, John Caccamise. Gary, you don't look up when I say that. I was talking about Caccamise. Anyhow, head over to
rocking the
Naira Bets if
shades.
you're not a member. Become a member. Use the promo code SPOT200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. We have a middle pick 4, 2, 4, and 7. We have a $7,500 hit and split. The last trifecta of the day, both here and Woodbine, which I'm going to assume is the last race everywhere. We got opt-in over at Naira Bets for that. Saturday contest, $300 buy-in. Cash and seat prizes. Go to naira.com/contests. You have till 5 o'clock today. Giveaway day. If you don't know it, get it. The cooler jug. And let's see what else we have. Sarah Live, 1 to 6:30. FS2. Sarah and I are done. You're getting started. Frank Miramati is just getting started as well. He is the voice of Saratoga Racetrack. He will be up next with the reprise scratch and changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.